Hello everybody, it's Andrew's Weather Predictions here. Today we're going to be talking about um, a significant severe weather event to impact the southern United States, a marginal cold core severe weather event for areas across the Midwest, a marginal severe weather event across these areas for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then some other things I'll briefly touch on as well. I about closed my screen recorder there, which is a whoopsies, but, so today we're really not expecting too much to happen across the United States, but tomorrow we do have a risk of severe weather in this yellow boxed area. A pretty marginal one, but I wouldn't be surprised to see an upgrade to slight risk for large hail or damaging winds. Rain showers and thunderstorms are possible for areas a bit further north of the severe risk as well. Day 3, this is where we could see an isolated severe weather risk along with a dry line, kind of cold core low pressure setup across a lot of these areas. Well, the south area is not going to be cold core, but the north area, kind of in here, this is going to be kind of cold core-ish. Yesterday was looking very good in the models. Today it's not looking as good, at least with the H-triple-R and wrap and stuff. Look at your fronts here. You see here the thunderstorms start to move northward. Wednesday, Thursday, this is the day we're really watching here. Day I'm really watching at least. A potentially significant severe weather event could occur across these areas and here. I made an outlook about it, so I'll talk to you about that. Friday, another severe weather event is possible for even the Northeast, but Mid-Atlantic regions up into the southern Northeast, and then Saturday and Sunday it's going to be pretty quiet. Maybe some thunderstorms and showers in some areas. And I did that. Okay. Rain amounts over the next 7 days. The south is going to be hit by many dynamic systems over the next 7 days. Heavy rainfall amounts of 7 to 10 inches are possible across some areas. Midwest seeing widespread amounts of 1.5 plus inches. Pacific Northwest getting in on some rainfall there. Excessive rain amounts. Day 2 we have a marginal, and day 3 we have a marginal. Here's the Storm Prediction Center. We have nothing to talk about for today. Tomorrow we have a 2% tornado risk, a 5% wind risk, and a 5% hail risk. They do mention a brief tornado with some supercells. Some thunderstorms to be severe. Day 3, I do expect a large marginal to be issued, or maybe 2 marginals, but I do expect a marginal to be issued. Something like this, maybe. Not like that, but something like this. Maybe, and then maybe, or something like this, like 2 marginals, one here, and one down here, maybe. I don't know. Just depends. Day 4 through 8, I'm expecting a 15% for what is day 5 today, but what will be day 4, and then day 3 will probably be a day 3 slight, marginal, or day 4 will be a slight or marginal. Day 5 will probably stay, predictability too low. Now here's something I did, so I'm going to present this. This is a Google slideshow that I made for the Midwest. I've been working on this for a little bit now. So here's the overall probabilities for the whole Midwest. So a tornado threat with a 1, this means a brief tornado or 2. Tornado hail threat of 1, that means an isolated large hailstones, usually under 2 inches. Damaging wind gust, 1 level, that means isolated damaging wind gust, usually below 70 mile per hour. And then overall severe threat, that's a 1, so that means usually isolated severe weather and coverage and is conditional. Illinois, same thing. Here's the probabilities explained. If you want to pause this, go ahead and pause it. Part 2, go ahead and pause it. Part 3, go ahead and pause it if you want to. Here's my unofficial outlook. I have a marginal for Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, and portions of Indiana. I have a large thunderstorm risk as well. My discussion, isolated severe weather is likely to occur across the Midwest with means a couple tornadoes possible. But that is my discussion. Timing right here. Now let's get into the models. I had the NAM pulled up. let's look at the... So, the name is really starting to draw back on this idea here. It's getting loaded now for the new run. But you can see here, isolated thunderstorms with some potential severe ones at this point. If you look at 0Z here, look at your instability, it's probably not going to be very high, I would assume. Yeah, instability's been backing off with the models. Looks like the target area now is like southern Missouri, like right here. Yeah, that area actually is not terrible, but maybe like up in here too, maybe some isolated thunderstorms. Yeah, that'll do it for a brief tornado or two. As you can see here, the thunderstorms have really like downtrended. If you look at the Namnest too, ooh, the Namnest pulls a classic on you and shows a large, significant line of thunderstorms. Thank you, Namnest. Let me take a sounding right by my... Okay, so the Namnest has been consistently showing a tornado threat with this. A little bit of veering in the lower levels. I think they're going to go 2% for tornado, 5 wind, 5 hail. End up looking at the Namnest here. It goes kind of nuts with the instability here a little bit later. You can see here, that's enough, but if a little bit earlier in the day, see, you get 1,000, even into Iowa. I'm going to cherry pick a sounding out here and see what I get. Okay, no, that's not favorable at all. Okay. And as you can see here, the Namnest has been consistently showing an arc of supercells from southeast Iowa into Missouri. It looks like the main tornado threat is going to be west of my area, but I do expect a marginal to be like in here. And I do expect me to get some isolated gusty winds with this, maybe a brief tornado with that photograph. Pretty nice photograph there, enough instability. A bit further south, you're going to have probably a higher tornado threat if any of those cells could sustain themselves. You see, you have higher instability along with still very high wind shear, so... And if you're like, the dew points aren't high enough, Andrew. This is a cold core event, so you really don't need dew points to be that high. 700 millibar temperatures will tell the story. Very cold. 23Z, yep, we have instability climbing in here. Looking at that. Looking at the sounding here, you can see we have high instability. As you can see here, though, the sounding's contaminated, so I'm gonna get another one, but... Looking in this west central Illinois area, you can see here, we have enough instability to sustain a tornado threat. High shear, so, yeah, yet again. If you do end up looking at the HRRR model, it shows a bit of a different solution. It shows cloud cover lingering throughout the day across most of the area, and if you end up taking soundings here, you don't have as high of instability as you would want, and the shear is a bit lower. It's still not terrible, but the dew points don't get as high as you want them to. And the wind profiles are kind of wacky, but still. Let's go into kind of looking at the south. Let's go into looking at tomorrow's severe weather though first, because I didn't really want to look at this at first, but whatever. So tomorrow in the morning, you're gonna have some showers and thunderstorms kind of pop up, and then right around 19Z, we start to see thunderstorms start to initiate kind of along the dry line here, and I don't really expect there to be too many supercells, but if a storm can stay discreet for an hour or two, I can see a brief tornado or two popping up. And see, in front of this storm, the environment isn't that favorable, but like down here, the environment I'm pretty sure is pretty decent. No, it's not. Probably later in the day when the LOJ kicks in. At this point, we start to see a bit of helicity tracks across this area from some hailers and some rotating updrafts. If you look up here, that'll do it for hail. Look further south, though, along the QLCS that's forming. You can see here, we have favorable soundings for some brief embedded tornadoes with 300 SR each here. The upper level photograph is a bit wonky, but overall it's not too bad. You have marginal instability, that's enough. You have pretty high decay, so I think you're going to see a decent risk for some damaging winds. We could see an upgrade for large hail due to the higher lapse rates. And we have a decent area, a pocket of instability, not that fat of an instability pocket, but still, it's not terrible either. If you do end up looking at these HRRR, yep, you can see, you get Sega sounding like right there. See here, this is actually a bit better of a sounding. A little bit of an EML here in the middle levels, but not terrible. But tomorrow's risk is pretty conditional and rather marginal. But as you can see here, the HRRR has been showing an area of pretty significant thunderstorms in the morning in Louisiana here, and I think this could provide us marginal to slight risk if you end up taking soundings here. At this point, the instability doesn't quite get to that area, but like right here, if you take a sounding just south of the end of the line here, boom, that's a very favorable environment for tornadoes. You have veering in the lower levels. This is going to support supercells. You have a large hodograph that actually isn't that wonky. You have an instability pocket that's not really that marginal. You have decently high lapse rates as well and high helicity and shear. So this is definitely a pretty high end risk. And as you look one frame later, yep. If you want to look at the helicity tracks here, you start to see a wide area. You can see that Louisiana storm going nuts and producing a ton. But yeah, you can see the HRRR goes nuts and shows widespread supercell area. I don't think it's going to be, well, it probably will be a lot of supercell tracks like this, but I don't know. I think if we were to see a slight, there's two areas it could get issued. It could get issued in here, or it could get issued in here. So we'll have to see about that. But now let's transition over to, I was going to take a box sounding randomly, but oops. But yeah, now let's transition over into looking at the models. We have all the 12Z model runs loaded now. Why not we first start off with the UK Met here? We're going to first drop this back to hour 78. So the UK Met doesn't have reflectivity at all, so this is going to have to do. But you can see here, the lower level jet kind of ends up kind of spiking in Louisiana overnight, so we could have a risk of severe weather here. Now, the UK Met isn't as progressive with the system as we want it to be for a severe weather threat on Thursday, but you end up seeing this lower level jet starting to get high, kind of high. End up taking a sounding here. You see here, it's enough for some isolated tornado potential, but the main threat's going to be once this LLJ really gets ramping up, and then boom. This is when it starts to get ramped up. Looking at this point, we have a very high lower level jet stream with 40 to 50 knots and even 60s. A lot of 70 dew points. This is very favorable. If I end up taking a sounding like right here where there's 73 dew points, see here, boom. High instability region here. Large hodograph, a dry slot here. Some decent lapse rates, but they are a bit marginal. High instability and high shear. There is a bit of lower level veering as well. It's not the best lower level veering that you want ever, on the UK Met at least, but it's there. UK Met also shows a dry line, so that's not a good thing. That's going to inherit the tornado potential. So you have the 500 millibar jet slot. It goes right in here. So you're going to have an EML kind of piking up in here. You can see that right there. Now let's go into more models that actually have the reflectivity, so we can actually not cherry pick soundings. Well, I mean, you can't really technically, well, that's not really technically cherry picking with the UK Met, but you know what I mean. Here's the Canadian 18Z, and we start to see here, if you look at, take some soundings here, very favorable environment here. Large hodograph. Lower level lapse rates are a bit marginal, but you have high shear, high cape. End up taking a look at the instability. We'll take a sounding like right here as well. You can see here, lapse rates are higher, which is bad or better for tornado potential, but the Canadian goes nuts with the lower level jet. Shows 60, I believe this is 65 knots. Yeah, widespread 50 knots with 60 knots in isolated pockets. 925 conveyor belt is up to 40 knots, 50 knots, which is high, very, very high. Instability with your surface-based cape, it's 2,000 to 3,000. Gets a little bit lower as you go with on the night, but as you see here, right in between these little pockets of rain, boom. Very large hodograph. That's going to support embedded tornado potential within a QLCS. I mean, the lapse rates are marginal, but it is later at night, so you're going to get that instability loss. Move along here, you start to see this, oh, that's the wrong area. Line starts to progress eastward, takes soundings out in front of it. It's probably not going to be as good. Environment's still supportive for tornadoes, but more of a damaging wind threat. Progress even further eastward. Still, mainly a damaging wind threat. Then for the Carolinas the next day, if you end up taking soundings like right in here for Georgia or South Carolina here, pretty much a favorable environment for wind gusts and hail. Maybe even a brief tornado, but as you can see, yep. There's your instability. Let's circle it back here. The GFS. The GFS is usually does not show this much instability. It's very rare to see the GFS showing 2,000, 3,000 cape, and when it does, you know you're going to have a lot more instability than what it shows. So this is 15Z, for instance, 1,000 cape. That's not bad for the GFS. If I do take a sounding right here, you get 1,000 with a very large hodograph, 500 SRH. See here, take a sounding right there. You're probably going to get, yep, 2,000 cape, lots of SRH again. Take a sounding there. A lot of instability still. 1,000 still a good amount for this time of the year. See that area of thunderstorms that progresses in 2,000 joules per kilogram with a large area of instability in a dry slot here. GFS usually doesn't show this kind of stuff, which is interesting. Yeah, a decent pocket too. Then if you look at the GFS pair as well, it shows the system being a little bit further west. There is a bit of differences with the system about being how far and where, but most of them are agreeing it'll be around the point where the pair has it. So you see 70 dew points. Yet again, a conveyor belt of 70 knot wind shear with the pair. Jesus. Take a sounding here right there. You get a sounding with 1,400 cape and 800 SRH. That is a lot of streamwise vorticity, and this is called a streamwise photograph, and that means a very large photograph, very favorable for tornadoes, favorable for strong tornadoes. I'm already going to be using the wording. I think there's going to be strong tornado potential with this. The lower level jet is very high for the time of the day. I mean, this is still a very favorable sounding. If you look at the 500 millibar jet streak here, I'm going to go to the national perspective here. This is a classic shortwave. It's more of a long wave actually, but it's got that shortwave kind of kink to it. It's got that shortwave kink to it, and it has that negative tilt. Now, this isn't a shortwave because you can see it's a longer wave, so we might see more periods of severe weather later that week. We'll see. But after Thursday and Friday, it gets a bit more uncertain what the pattern's going to be, so. And as you can see here, as we get through the night here, you see the lower level jet increases a little bit in coverage here. As you can see, if I do take a sounding in southeastern Tennessee, it's probably going to have a streamwise photograph. Yeah, it does. It's just doesn't have instability up there, which is a great thing, but still see a very favorable sounding over the Birmingham metro area. If you move along here, see an isolated severe threat across this area, but the main threat at this point is actually, well, the pair doesn't show the system doing much in the northeast. If you end up taking a sounding with the pair up here, decent instability, not too bad for the northeast this time of the year, but you're looking at the GFS here. Oh, the GFS doesn't have it either. Is it like the Canadian? Yeah, the Canadian wants the system to go nuts for the northeast. This is right over south central Pennsylvania. Very favorable environment for tornadoes if this were to occur. If you want to look at the Euro too, it shows more of an isolated severe event over here. But the main thing is, you can see an isolated severe event for the mid-Atlantic down into the Dixie Alley regions, or down into the southeast regions for Friday. See here, yeah, an interesting sounding there, kind of favorable for some isolated severe storms. Here's the Euro. The Euro shows widespread thunderstorm activity getting into midday. Very large photograph, 2,000 kpgn. Let's analyze this sounding I get right here. So you have a surface-based storm height with this LCL, enlarged photograph here, and veering in height, where lower level veering and veering with height. High lapse rates, high instability, fat instability quarter with the white dotted line there, and a lot of streamwise felicity there. Very favorable environment. End up looking at the Euro lower level jet here, and you'll see it goes boom. It just goes boom, man. And the models have been really uptrending with this over the past few days, and it's looking bad. I'm just gonna say that right now. Just oh, that's capped. We'll take a sounding right here in like southern Alabama, right in front of the line. Still favorable for tornadoes, but now I think it's time that I show you my outlook here. So I've made outlooks for a few days here. Oh, I didn't mean to put those on. Whatever. I made outlooks for a few days here. Here's my outlook for Thursday. Or no, this is Wednesday. So I do have an area in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. This is equivalent to a marginal. I don't really have much confidence in this at all. I mean, I think I probably do have enough confidence now to put a 15% along the coastal areas of Texas and Louisiana, but that's about it. If we exit that, if we end up looking at the main day that I am getting confident in, and I might go 15% actually, is for this day. Oh, wait. Nope, that's the wrong one. The 25th. Oh, I gotta open the 25th. Okay. This is the day I'm really starting to get confidence in. So this is my day 5 unofficial outlook. I have a SIGD area for Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. This is where, like I said here, SIG area discussion. This area has a shot of a 30% upgrade for me tomorrow, as well as potential for a couple strong tornadoes, isolated damaging wind gusts above 75 mile per hour, and isolated hailstones above 2 inches. And it's getting more likely that I'm going to upgrade somewhere in that area to a 30% tomorrow. The 15% is where you can see scattered severe weather. Um, still, so a little big area because it's a bit uncertain. End up looking at the next outlook that I have here. This is for the 23rd. Like I said here, I did a large marginal including Iowa, Illinois, a little bit of Indiana, Kentucky, Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Louisiana. Looks like I'm probably going to have to add a slight risk if trends continue for like this area. We'll have to see though. But yeah, that's going to do it for Cave. We do look at College of DuPage here. I have it saved at 102. Very rare for the GEFS to have superstar composite values of 8 this far out. If you end up looking at the 500 millibar pattern here, just going to take a look at that. Very favorable pattern for severe weather, especially along and this jet streak in here. If you end up looking further to the south here, again, Cape probs with this run about 100% in portions of the risk. EHI probabilities nearly 100. S superstar composite probabilities nearly 100. So very, very significant. And if you look at the ensembles here, every single one except this one and this one are showing a significant severe threat. The ones in blue are the most significant. So this one, and this one are the most significant, with the ones in pink still being significant. And the ones that are not in any color, they're still there as pretty significant, but they're not as bad as some of the other ones. So that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them that really don't have a significant threat out of 20. So 3/4 of them are showing a really significant threat. Ensemble Cape, most of them show over 1,500, with some of them showing close to 3,000, but there's like a couple of them that don't show that much Cape, which is kind of interesting. Let's quickly touch on the NAM here, and then we're gonna move on. Here's the new run here for the NAM, and it's starting. We're getting closer and closer to the event, so we're starting to show 2,000 for the event before for the day before the day, if you know what I'm talking about here. Isolated supercells are firing with the NAM model, and that's actually rare to see the NAM fire isolated supercells, but it does fire isolated supercells here across the region. It develops a surface low on one of them, which is interesting, and then you have another convective line over here with the warm front pushing northward. This is a classic Dixie Alley look. Take a sounding in front of the convection here. Pretty favorable environment for tornadoes, so I do think this will probably go slight risk. As you can see here, 0Z, we start to see an area of thunderstorms develop in Oklahoma. That might be a contaminated sounding. Yeah, that's contaminated north of the warm sector. Is that north of the warm? That's still north of it. Maybe it's like north of Texas with the new run. Yeah, northern Texas with the new run with the warm sector, but yeah. If you end up looking at the shield, this is a model that actually did pretty decent with last time. It didn't get exactly there, but you know the deal. It did pretty well, and I think I might have showed it in one of my videos that I did last time, but we're going to show it again here. We're going to show what it has for reflectivity-wise, and then we're also going to show, we're going to pause it. So it has an isolated severe threat on Monday. Really nothing significant, and then it shows some Midwest storms. And it shows kind of Wednesday tinkering off, and then it shows isolated supercells firing. Then it shows them moving northward. Then, boom, supercells really starting to fire up along the cold front, and then it shows a progressive QLCS as you get throughout the night. And this is probably a solution that is very likely to happen due to the wind profiles. You get, so let's start here, 21Z, so you get 3. So you probably have a period of around 3 to 6 hours of supercells, and then you get the QLCS, which still has a risk. If you do end up looking at the total surface-based Cape values, we're going to have to let this load for a second, and that's all we're going to look at because the updraft velocity swaps can't really be trusted too much, but we might look at them anyway. But if you look at the last frame here, let's go back here. So At this point, the QLCS is probably going to be running out of moisture, but boom. 21Z on Friday, we see nearly over 3,000 joules per kilogram, which some models are showing. This one actually shows nearly 4,000 at 18Z. That is significant, guys. But as you can see here, the moisture and instability gets thinned out as the night goes along, and very thin. You get to the morning hours. We'll look at the holicity tracks for the heck of it. We're actually just going to watch them accumulate with this one, because I really don't care to skip to the end here. Actually, yeah, we are going to skip to the end. Why not? So this run is showing these areas getting hammered. I won't exactly get the exact area of this, but just know somewhere in here is going to get significantly hammered with this next system. In the area right now that's looking to be the worst, it's probably in here. We'll look at the weather bell for a second here. We're gonna look at weather bell. Look at the maps. We're gonna look at the Euro. We'll look at the instantaneous flash rate for a little bit here. Kind of briefly go over it. So, isolated thunderstorms tonight and tomorrow with a severe threat. Then the cold core stuff on Tuesday and the severe weather across Dixie potentially. Then Wednesday with severe weather and supercell potential across the plains, and then the warm front moving northward, and then boom. There's your significant day. Friday with isolated severe potential, and then after that it gets uncertain. But, yeah. Let's look at the we're actually going to be looking at the ensembles here, so we're going to look at the GEFS ensemble members. Actually, we already looked at that. We'll look at the Canadian mean. We'll look at... Actually, we'll look at the European ensembles, because they're the ones that actually, yeah. Severe weather. Okay, so let's look at more of the state regions here. So, Florida, maybe? No, that's too close. Southeast, boom. Okay, so here's the Southeast region. Here's members 1 through 25, and we're going to get out to right around Thursday at 18Z. So most of them are showing at least 1,000 joules per kilogram, with some models showing a 2,000. If you look at 26 through 2050, yeah, same deal. Key props for over 1,000, they're getting to near 100%. Over 2,000, it's around a 30%, and then 3,000 is pretty low percentage with this. So yeah, but overall, if you live in this region here, you're really going to want to watch for alerts and warnings over the next few days, and even extend that to the west and extend that to the east, because we don't know exact stuff. But yeah, that's going to do it with this one. If you like the content you see, please drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.